I grew up having, as a young girl, I had dysmenorrhea. That's painful menstruation. Yeah. And I can remember in my SS2, one of my classmates came to me, not just her, but she was one persistent classmate who came to me to say, it seems as if you're still a virgin. I said, yes. She said, that's why. She gave me the anatomy of the female body, blah, 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 and told me, that is the reason you are having painful menstruation. Once you can have sex, it will end. And she even testified of how she did it. And even now, she doesn't even ask her then. I'm talking of when I was 14, 15 years, about 30 years ago, because I'm 45 now. That ever since she had that sex, she doesn't even have any feeling. So that I should stop taking all these painkillers. I should just go and have sex. Everything will be history.
And you know, a lot of people still believe this stuff till this day.
Exactly. As we go to school outreaches, we meet young people who still say the same thing. And I get worried that I thought it has ended with us. But I realized that new ones are even coming up. Like I had one in one town in Anambra here that a young girl told me, mommy, spam and aqua pimple. A young girl, a teenage girl. In fact, in a religious setting. This one is a church meeting I attended.
Yeah.
Na spam na pimple. No, ne doziaro.
And a lot of them still have this
notion. Yeah. Exactly.
And they go about with it.
There are so much. This sex meat is so much. They are not, it's just too much. And more are coming up every day the way I'm saying these things.
Yeah.
A lot of them have some wrong notion because, like I said, myths they are not true. It's just that they've lived so long and people think they are true.
So what brought about all these misconceptions, like all these wrong beliefs about it? Like how did it come about? Any origin about that?
Well, I may not place my hand to say this is the particular origin. But being a Christian, let me start from that Christian perspective. The devil is at work. Ephesians 6 verse 11 tells us that the enemy comes with his scheme. And one of his scheme amongst young people is to introduce myth. So when a young boy hears that his sperm will congeal, he becomes conscious and begin to look for what to do to make sure that the sperm does not congeal.
And just like you said, somebody coming up to you and telling you that the reason why you are having painful menstruation is because, and you know, sometimes it looks like it's true.
It's true.
Because, you know, a couple of people, they heard it then and they opened up to it and stuff like that. So how were you able to go, you know, cope with this pressure, like those periods? Did you end up having sex or stuff like that? How were you able to cope with those stuff, the pain?
Okay. Thank God, God helped me. One way God helped me was that He brought a mentor into my life. She's late now, so she helped me via her teachings on TV. I began to listen, and all thanks to the Holy Spirit who led me to go watch it. And then I began to believe her, and with that, God began to open my eyes to these things that they are not true. Sex outside marriage will not help you. And looking at the aftermath of sex outside marriage, because I could remember that one of my classmates then in SS2 got pregnant. In fact, I had one again who went for female genital mutilation. And the intention is this, that if she goes for it, as she told me, because another origin of all this myth is culture and society. So she told me that in their culture, that it is important she goes for this because it will reduce her sexual urge. And you won't believe it. She went for that, whatever, will I call it a surgical operation or whatever. And after that, she still took in SS3 and had a baby outside wedlock. So one major way God helped me was to help me to know Him and got me the right information via a mentor. Because it's one thing to know God. It's another to have the right information from the right source. So God directed my path to a Christian mentor who I met those days via TV. There was no online. Pastor Bimbo Dukoy of the blessed memory. And I followed up on her teachings and the Holy Spirit helping me. I was able to, you know, be assertive and insist that no matter the length or the nature of the pain, I would have to bear it. I just kept taking pain relievers. At the time, I had to visit the hospital to know, you know, medical recommendations. And I was given
that menstrual pain is actually a common thing, right, among young girls?
I wouldn't say it's a common thing. For some people, they don't have it. They don't have that kind of pain. You know, there are different levels. Some of us had excruciating ones. I had one because those 3 days, especially the first 2 days, I can't do nothing. I had an excruciating one. But I know I had younger sisters who didn't have such. Will I say it depends on you or how you were made, or I can't really say on nature. Yes. Yeah. So, but I know at the time my grandmother took me to the hospital. She was worried that this is getting out of hand. So she took me to the hospital because I will vomit all through. I will be sick for those 2-3 days. In fact, I'll lose weight. It was that serious. The doctor, his only recommendation was to take pain reliever, get a hot water sack, There's this sack. You pour hot water into it, and then I place it on my tummy, and then make sure that a few days to the time I don't take anything cold. Then do exercise that will help the blood flow. They told us as young girls those days that if you wait and keep yourself a virgin, when you get married and you want to give birth, you will die. That's what we heard. But all of them are lies. I kept myself a virgin by the grace of God till I got married, and I did not die.
How were you able to overcome the pressures from? Because I know when you are young, you look very attractive. So how were you able to keep yourself away from the pressures of young guys then?
Okay, I always stress the need for young people to have mentors, quality mentors. I had a good mentor for that. That's one. My relationship with Jesus, that's two. Because one of the good things about the relationship I had with the Lord was that it gave me the boldness to stand against what I know is not written in the scriptures. I became assertive. I could say no and mean my no. Then I began to get information from this mentor who opened up my eyes to the dangers of sex before marriage. Then I now understood again, like I go around teaching young people, I was able to discover my most important sexual organ. That my most important sexual organ is not my vagina, is not my breast, and is not anybody's penis, but your mind. And like I said, that's why the enemy comes with a scheme, says the Bible. That scheme, which in this case is myth, is targeted at your mind. Your mind is your most important sexual organ. I discovered that at 13. Now, that discovery helped me to be careful of what goes into my mind, to be careful of what I listen to be careful of what I watch, to be careful of the friends I keep. So that's how I was able to conquer. When I'm deliberate about who I listen to, what I listen to, for instance, the music I listen to, like in today's world, it's been there. I tell young people there are 3 categories of music. There's sexual music, there's secular music, and there's Christian music. But if you look around today, you'll agree with me that young people are listening more to sexual music than to even Christian music. So when they listen, for instance, you listen over and over. There's one in vogue now, twerk, twerk, twerk. They're telling you to twerk your body, twerk. Twerk is sensual, isn't it?
Yeah. And those things has something it's pumping into your mind.
Thank you. So when you enjoy such music, you listen to it, you allow it, over time, you want to perform what you've heard. So what you listen to affect you. Then the friends you keep affect. So I was careful with the friends I keep. I made sure the few friends I had then were people who had the same value system with myself. If you intend to keep yourself away from sex before marriage, then you must be deliberate to pick friends who have the same vision. Bible says, can 2 work together except they be agreed? You cannot be a young man who wants to keep himself pure, and then you go and look for a young man who doesn't want to keep himself pure. Psalm 1 verse 1 says, you're sitting with the person together and you are talking, and the person will now be encouraging you by telling you how many girls he has disvirgined. For him, that's the definition of masculinity. It's a question of time, you will fall prey. But if you get someone who is having the same value system as yours, you will learn from one another. So that's what I did. I was deliberate about the friends I kept, because they could influence me, I could influence them. So I wanted to make sure we're going the same way, and I thank God I saw them and we're going the same way. Then what I watched mattered. Today we have access to pornography like never before. In our own time, pornography was there, but the accessibility wasn't this common. Today you have it everywhere. You have to be deliberate about what you watch, because if you dabble into pornography, it is addictive, and before you know it, the next stage is that it will give birth to masturbation. It will give birth to you sleeping around, and it will give birth to other problems.